Hello, I'm Jerry Lintner, and this is State of the Town, a monthly show when we meet with our First Selectman Mary Glassman and get brought up to date on the state of the town. Hello, First Selectman.
Hello,
How are
Jerry.
you today?
And Althea, welcome to Town Hall. Thank you to SCTV.
Thank you. We're, I think both Althea and I are a little on the sleepy side today, so.
Well, it's the holiday season. It's a little slower going.
Yeah,
so.
But I don't know. You know, she used to be, when you were a kid, you get all excited, faster going. Now it's like, oh, nap time. So, let's see. We had Simsbury Celebrates, which our granddaughter and her dad came up for that. He didn't get it right at 4:30, but we started out at 4:30.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way possible you can get everything in. I mean, the crowd was great. The stuff was great. Our granddaughter had a great time. But that crew, I mean, they go out and raise the money for that.
They
right?
do. And Simsbury Celebrates is over, and all the volunteers did such a great job. The town of Simsbury sponsors Simsbury Celebrates, and Taryn Ray, who works for the town, did a great job coordinating. But the hard work and the heavy lifting is really done by volunteers. So special thanks to Linda Johnson, Janet Calabro, and Carol Brown for their unbelievably hard work and success. There were more than 12,000 people at Simsbury Celebrates for the fire truck parade, and special thanks to the Simsbury Volunteer Fire Department for all of their hard work and putting on a great performance.
Yeah, our son-in-law was blown away by that.
It's incredible. And to top it all off, fireworks.
Oh, yeah.
So it was great.
Well, you know, it worked out in that because it was cold. So
it was.
Our granddaughter had outgrown her Uggs. Do you guys know about Uggs? So she, tennis shoes, she'd be fine. Well, there's so much netting in those now, that's synthetic netting. So she wasn't fine after a while standing around, but she was enduring it as long as the candy was there. You know?
Absolutely. But, you know, it takes a lot of volunteers to put on such a production. And I talked to an exhausted Linda Johnson after the event, and she said they're desperately in need of volunteers.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a way to enjoy the holiday season, to give back to your community, please let me know, and we'll put you in touch with the great folks that organize Simsbury Celebrates. One of the big, I don't know if you got a chance to visit, but one of the big attractions and a new attraction this year was the Lego exhibit. And that became so crowded that it finally had to be shut down, and folks had to be turned away. So next year they're looking to find a bigger venue for the Lego exhibit. And but we'd love to have folks come out next year, and we'd love to have more folks and new folks maybe who haven't volunteered before.
You know, families could volunteer.
Absolutely.
And there'd be a way to do that, and then their kids would be involved in the stuff there at night. I think the big winner for our granddaughter was Pirate School. She liked Pirate School. And then the dancers that were at the Historical Society in the old meeting house, a group that's going to be putting on the Nutcrackers somewhere, she thought that was awesome. And then it went on and on. You know, the ice skaters, she was fascinated. She's in first grade. You know,
Perfect age.
Yeah.
Perfect age.
Perfect, exciting. However, then by the time it was fireworks time, her dad had put her up on his shoulders, so she was not wanting to put her feet back on the frozen ground.
No.
But living up on the hill, and now that it's winter and the leaves are gone, I said, you know what? From Ardennes, we can watch the whole thing. And there we all were, you know, all cozy, heavy little hats.
There you go.
And they were awesome fireworks. They're really, really nice.
Great. Well, that's one of the benefits of living in a walkable, livable community.
Yes, absolutely. Totally true. Speaking about community, we are past the election now. And I watched part of it, the first Selectmen's meeting. And I'm trying to remember when the last time there was a divergence on who should be deputy selectman. I think maybe it was when Joel Mandel there was a question, was he going to be or was he not going to be, and he ended up being. So I only saw a little snippet on Simsbury Pet, so I don't know that all viewers saw it. Maybe you could give us a synopsis of
Happy
that,
to do that.
how it usually works, and if it went differently, how it went differently.
Yes. Well, the campaign is over, and the newly elected officials took office. Special thanks to the voters of Simsbury for coming out and voting, and I also want to say a special thank you to the voters for re-electing me and having the trust and confidence in my continuing. This will be my 8th term as First Selectman, and I'm very honored and proud to represent Simsbury.
I can see honored and proud, but
8th.
glad to do yet another one.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful community and great challenges ahead of us. I want to congratulate all of our newly elected officials. We had a wonderful ceremony, a swearing-in ceremony. Comptroller Kevin Lembo was able to join us and shared some wonderful words.
Who was that was able?
Kevin Lembo, the comptroller of the
okay,
state of Connecticut.
Okay.
And, what was great is, seeing so many new people who've never served before in volunteering in our town.
Looking on the ballot, I thought, there are a lot of different names.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I also want to thank the folks who did put their name on the ballot and didn't win, because they were the people who gave the voters a choice.
Yeah.
And I hope and I've encouraged those who did not win to stay involved and volunteer. And there's a lot of appointed boards and commissions, so we hope that people will serve in a different capacity as well.
Part of it, I think it's difficult. As a new person runs, you've not been exposed to that person. So
Right.
voting for somebody whose name you do recognize is not really a vote against the other person. It's just sometimes there's not been enough exposure.
Absolutely. And in many communities, many of the top slots, First Selectman, Mayor, go unopposed. And so I think having an important debate and discussion about important issues to the people of Simsbury is part of the process, and it's really a gift to the voters, because you can look and shop and listen to people's opinions and decide whether you want to continue with that leadership. So special thanks to those who ran as well.
And then, so how typically, well, first of all, I don't really understand, other than they help you a lot, the deputy first selectman's role. And I'm trying to remember back when that there was a discussion about whether Joel would be or not, and I don't remember the particulars of it. So can you give us an outline of how it usually works?
Absolutely.
And what was different?
And again, our charter is very clear. The First Selectman is the chief executive officer, the administrative officer responsible for the day-to-day events. There is an important provision in our charter that says should the First Selectman be unable to serve, or the deputy First Selectman would be selected and would be available. It's been a tradition. I can't remember really ever a deputy First Selectman title being removed from someone. So I was hoping that Lisa Hevner would continue as deputy. She's done a great job for the town. She has a law degree. She's available. She is chair of the personnel committee. She's been on the public safety committee, and felt very strongly that she would have been the best person to step in should I be incapacitated and unable to serve. And I made that case to my colleagues on the Board of Selectmen. I did speak directly with Nancy Hasse, who told me she was going to seek the position. Nancy doesn't have any experience on public safety, doesn't have any experience on personnel. But more importantly, the rules that the Board of Selectmen have been following since 2008 has been to give deference to the First Selectman, because after all, the First Selectman is the Chief Executive Officer, and the deputy would need to work closely with the First Selectman and be able to step in. It was ironic that actually Mr. Askham, who is a selectman and also head of the Republican Party, and Nancy Hasse voted twice to support the concept and the precedent that the First Selectman would get the choice of selecting a deputy. When this issue came up, I asked the board if they would like to change the precedent. There were no motions to change that. I did refer it to the Charter Revision Commission. The understanding was, and it's in the minutes of the record, Maura Wertheimer actually proposed that it be be the first selectman's choice even before I got on the Board of Selectmen. And then my colleagues voted twice to support that concept. So it was a little disappointing and a little surprising that the first action out of the box was to change that
Okay,
rule.
well, then it's never been a case of the largest vote getter that ends up being elected as the selectman be the deputy?
Yeah, and there was some discussion a couple of times when this issue came up. I think the last time it came up, there was a discussion about the highest vote getter should get it because that was what the voters decided was the second highest vote getter in addition to the first selectman. Neither the first selectman's choice or the top vote getter applies in this situation. Should the top vote getter be selected in this case, it would have been Mike Payne. So I'm concerned, what is the rule now and what's the precedent? And, so it's more about what are we saying about the role of the first selectman? What are we saying about precedent? What are we saying about deference? What are we saying about bipartisanship if, there's no cooperation between the first selectman and the board?
Okay, but it's like it's over and done, and is that the new rule now?
It is. And another thing, and I hope this doesn't continue, but there was another suggestion at the first meeting of the Board of Selectmen, and that was to define what temporary absence of the first selectman meant. And again, Mr. Askham proposed changing the rules to say anytime the first selectman is out of town for 72 hours, that would be deemed temporary absence or incapacity of the selectman. And I did raise that I don't think that is even a legal proposal because it would change the charter by proposing a new rule. And, that means that should there be a fire in my house and I was in Avon at a hotel for more than 72 hours, I would be deemed incapacitated. So I think we need to have the election over. I think we need to get on with the business of the town. I think we need to come up with rules that are in the best interest of the town rather than changing the rules every time a new majority's in. We're all elected to do what's best for the town. If we feel a definition of incapacitation of the first selectman is needed, although we've operated for 374 years without defining that, then let's have a conversation about what truly that means in this day and age of incapacitation of this first selectman.
I hope we're not going to go backwards on the bipartisan stuff. We've gained a lot over the years, and I was involved with both parties in campaigns. And I remember in the early days, there were times you just had to walk out of what was being discussed and said, you know what, if you're going to do that, then I'm out of here. That's just not the way to play. It should be the issues. And that seemed to gradually, and frankly, I attribute a lot of that to you.
Well,
because
thank you.
I do think that you are willing to listen, and you do have a vision, and if the vision seems to need to be corrected by what the majority of the people think, then you're certainly willing to do that too. But it just did not make me feel good. And I guess it always happens. People take signs down every year, but that seemed to have disappeared. And I had signs taken down this year. And, I just don't want to see us go back there. It was so
and I respect
counterproductive.
the decision of the voters, and I'm looking forward to serving with everyone the voters selected, because that, after all, is their choice.
Right.
I would like to focus on the business of the town. There are a lot of really difficult choices over the next 2 years. I have kept the budget on the town side at zero since 2008, and yet, our mill rate has increased. The Board of Selectmen budget, I think there's a lot of education we need to do to the voters, that the Board of Education budget and the overall town budget and the fire district tax make up what people pay. So keeping the town budget at zero doesn't really mean that the mill rate will be at zero. So I think voters need to be educated on the choices that we're making during the budget process and what choices we make and how that will affect the taxes. One of the exciting changes this year is a change on the Board of Finance. There will now be a 3-3 board, 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans. I thank Paul Hanal, as we did before, and Kevin North for having served on that board.
Yeah, they did great.
But we have two new people on the board who've never served, Linda Schofield and Maura Wertheimer. Both have experience with how government works, how our community works. And I'm looking forward to having a very direct, honest conversation about the mill rate and how we can focus on goals and objectives and really address some of the concerns we have on rising mill rates. But again, the Board of Selectmen can't control the mill rate. It has to be controlled by the Board of Finance. And I think we need to educate the public so they go to some of those Board of Finance meetings and talk about the budget and the mill rate in a larger context.
Yeah, before we started the show, I was looking, I saw an organization chart there in the break room. I think it would be educational for people. I mean, I'm sure it's available anyhow, but to look at it, because when you see all of these parallel level boards that are elected boards and how they really each operate, make their choices independently. But of course, when those choices involve funding or what all, then they sometimes are in conflict or overruling policy set by another board because it's not funded then. And then looking at the First Selectman, you see that also is town manager. And then there's this whole big structure under that. I mean, it's a demanding job. You have a very, very demanding job.
Well, thank you.
For being willing to
and I
do
take it very seriously. And I one of my challenges over the next 2 years will be to get folks more involved in the budget process, to educate them on how the decisions are made, to figure out a way to communicate, to listen more about what our voters want, to get more people to vote in not only referendums, but in the annual budget meetings and also in municipal elections. We had about 39% turnout, which is really not great for a local election. And our budget referendum numbers have been dwindling, so folks aren't coming out to vote. So I take that as a personal challenge. I look forward to working with the Board of Finance to figure out ways to get people involved, maybe ways to be interactive so that if folks can't come to a meeting, is there a way we can solicit their input or get their advice on what they'd like to see us have votes and choices for. So it's a very challenging time for our town over the next couple of years. Certainly the Hartford Insurance Group, we're working very closely with them on new opportunities. I do want to clarify that the Hartford, there's been a lot of panic talk about the Hartford, and maybe, Jerry, we should spend a moment about...
Yeah, let's do that, because actually I heard, what was I listening to? I guess it was between appointments, and it was on NPR, but I think it might have been Colin McEnroe or someone talking about examples of, when you look to economy and when a big somebody. But then they were talking about Simsbury, and they said, there seems to be a misconception there that
Absolutely.
Hartford continues to own the building, and it is a taxable entity at the point it's there, and it's not vacant at this point. And then he was contrasting that to some others. So clarify that a little bit.
Yeah, and I think there is a lot of misinformation and a lot of panic that has been put out there that somehow the Hartford's going to be gone tomorrow and we're going to lose. Someone mentioned to me yesterday they heard we were going to lose $44 million. So let's just clarify. First of all, the Hartford owns the building. They pay $1 million in taxes for the building, and they pay about another $600,000 to $700,000 in personal property. So $1.7 million is what we get from the Hartford, which is a sizable amount, but it's actually only less than 2% of our budget and our collection. Just to put things in context, the proposal at the legislature last year to eliminate the mill rate would have meant a loss of $6 million to the town of Simsbury. So while everyone's there's been some misinformation and panic about the Hartford, the proposal to eliminate the car tax would have devastated the town far worse than the Hartford Insurance Group ramifications. So first, the Hartford is working very closely with the town. We have a very unique partnership, and I credit the good relationship that I have with the people over there, as well as the support that we've gotten from the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance to continue those talks. We spent, the Hartford paid for about $150,000 worth of a study. I don't think that's been done with any town in Connecticut, as far as I know, trying to plan for future opportunities. when Hartford decides to reassign their employees, which they haven't done yet. In fact, there's more employees working there today than there have been because of some renovations going on in Hartford. So there's about 1,500 employees there currently.
Well, that's why the traffic jam the
yes.
other day. I was out on the road a little bit earlier than usual.
Yes.
And I got stuck on East Weetog Street. And fortunately, I was going to go up the hill. Most everybody
Right.
else, though, was coming down. And I
Right.
don't know if there have been some black ice or what, but it was.
Yes, there has been some
standing
difficult
still.
mornings. So, and the personal property, as I said, let's say that the Hartford, by the time it takes them to reallocate their employees and to move all their personal property, we'll still have $1.1 million in real estate taxes that they're paying.
Right.
So, I think we all need to take a deep breath. I think we're very grateful to the Hartford for giving us so much future notice and allowing us this gift of time to find new opportunities, new alternatives. We've worked very closely with CB Richard Ellis in showing the property to a number of very exciting and very interested developers. And, we will continue to work hard. We've had great conversations with the state of Connecticut. We have a good relationship with the Department of Economic Community Development, Commissioner Catherine Smith and Ron Angelo are considering Simsbury as a model for Connecticut in terms of site readiness. And we're really excited about the opportunities.
A concept that occurs to me, and not like my original idea, because at one point that development that Mike Gerard has done with houses was going to be kind of have cooperative office space where, a person who needs a conference room occasionally, but not all the time. I know there's some space in Avon where they're attempting that. And I suppose the Hartford building is too large of a scale. But sometimes, just because of that, it becomes really attractive then, because whoever would organize it to have the support staff there, so it's like rent a steno, or there are programs you can run for
Right.
search programs for business that are owned by this entity to whom you pay a monthly amount. That'd be pretty exciting. It'd take a lot of people to do that, but how cool if you had this entrepreneurial center in
Absolutely.
Simsbury as the place for it.
Absolutely. And we also have been, we're not just focusing on the Hartford, and we're not panicking. We're working very hard, very closely with the Hartford, but we're also diversifying our portfolio. We've been adding additional businesses to our grand list and getting other sites ready. The Hartford is not the only site in town that's available to develop.
I know it doesn't bring in as much taxes, but boy, have we become a restaurant destination starting Thursday night right through Saturday.
Absolutely. And in fact, John McCormick, who is the real estate broker on the Hartford, said there is no question that all the awards that Simsbury has won as being CNN Money Magazine's top 100 best places to live, they've put that right on the brochure.
Yep.
And that is an absolute marketing gold star.
Yep.
It really shows that we're a great community to live, a great community to work in, great community to locate a business in. So while we don't own the Hartford site and we can't control the development of that site, we can control what kind of community we live in, what our reputation is, how proud we are,
and it draws the right
and
kind
other
of business, the
and
kind of
developing
business
other
you want
businesses. Absolutely.
The other thing we should probably touch on it is we had Thanksgiving. We've got a chance to give thanks, and then we'll have a giving season
Yes.
coming up. And I don't know, the food bank, our food bank, how?
We have, we have a tremendous amount of folks in need, and this is the season that, we reach out to folks who are alone, elderly, who have financial
I'm probably not calling
issues.
that right by food bank. It's social services.
Food closet?
Food
closet. But we also have a very generous community. And I think we had a great way to kick off the holiday season with an interfaith service. We had more than 400 people attend.
Wonderful.
And it was involved all of the clergy in Simsbury, who, interestingly enough, work very closely with the town. I meet regularly with the clergy. Our clergy meet regularly with our social service department. So we're working very hard to, we have a neighbor-to-neighbor program. If folks know of someone who is alone during the holidays, to contact us and we'll take care of coordinating that. We have a gift program where folks can adopt a family in need. We have
And how
generous.
is somebody wanting to do that, hearing about it for the first time, how would they?
They could call my office, 658-3230, or they could contact Mickey LaCours-Beck directly at the Social Service Department. Okay. And we're really grateful to all the folks who've donated, not only to adopt families or to donate food, but also have donated to our Keep Simsbury Warm program, which allows donations to be used to help pay heating bills for some of our most vulnerable
I was
residents.
talking to Mickey a while back, and she'd been doing that job for a long time, and she is so sincerely committed to that, and it's
Absolutely.
such a variety of need, that comes through there. And she is creative, and how can you work this or work that to get for that person? And I guess there's one day when you go down and get food and cheese or something a week.
Yep, absolutely. But this is the season to connect with your neighbors, connect with your friends, connect with the town. If you don't be shy. If you think there's someone on your street that might be alone or might be in need of being checked on,
and
just
really
give us a call.
Just invite them over.
Invite them over.
Well, speaking of connecting, thank you for letting us connect once again with our government.
Thank you, and happy holidays to you and to everyone.
Same to you, and same to you, and we'll see you next month on State of the Town.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.